Good morning, Sync Edge members. Hope you guys are all having a great weekend so far. I know we just got started, but I really hope you guys are going to be productive and crank out a bunch of tracks and participate. Hopefully, you guys are also doing the Sync 60 challenge and sort of creating your own weekly goals. And I know we are about 2 days. I guess Monday is the start of week 3, so it's crazy. Time flies real quick once you get started with this thing. So I hope many of you guys are participating with that. And really taking that seriously and holding yourselves accountable. For those of you, obviously, that are in Sync Academy, you should be filling out your progress chart and following along with all that good stuff. But before we get started this morning, as we wait for a few people to show up, I want to make a quick announcement. I will be opening up 40 spots for the Syndicate this coming Monday, July 15th. Many of you guys probably already know what the Syndicate is. Just a brief little reminder. It is essentially my inner circle mentorship group. It is the way that I've been able to offer essentially one-on-one feedback on your tracks, offer you guys licensing opportunities from my personal contacts in the business. And now we're going to be rolling a new feature, which is called Sync Contest, where basically I'm going to put together a brief, a real world brief that I've actually gotten from this industry, share it with you guys so you can kind of see real world work, what it's really like to participate in these opportunities. But I will open it up to basically every genre, and then the top 3 submissions, the ones that I feel are the most appropriate for that brief, will get a cash prize, and I'll do a review of your track, so everybody will get to see why the tracks that I selected got the prizes, essentially got the cash prizes. And the best part about all of that is there's no obligation for your tracks. It's not even a non-exclusive licensing agreement. You can basically take your tracks back, even if you've won, and then go make more money with them and go get them licensed with another opportunity, even another opportunity within the Syndicate, or you can go outside. Right now, we have 2 licensing opportunities. One is an Asian hybrid album we're putting together. The other is a hip-hop orchestral album. We just finished up, or we're about to finish up as of tomorrow, a throwback 1950s doo-wop sort of a sound opportunity. That one's pretty much full, though, so you guys won't be able to participate in that one. But we do have 2 opportunities that are going on right now. You get feedback on every track that you submit to these regular ongoing opportunities, so you'll know whether or not your tracks are on par or not. And if they're not, you'll know what you need to do to improve them or how to restructure and refocus your attempt for the next track that you want to submit. Okay, so you don't just throw stuff up there and hope it sticks. You'll actually know exactly from me and from our other licensing partner that's on board with us why or why not your track either hit the mark or didn't hit the mark. So getting that valuable feedback from insider professionals in this business can be really valuable for you. Also, once a month, you guys can post any track that you've been working on, essentially, for our open review opportunities, and get feedback directly from me. So I'll do a video just like this. I'll play your track and I'll tell you exactly what's working and what's not working with your track, because I get a lot of those. Probably every day I get 2 or 3 people asking me and sending me music. Jesse, check out my music. What do you think? I just would bury myself in that much work. I can't do it in that manner where people just ask me and I directly respond to them. So the Syndicate is the way that I've structured it so that I can manage it. I do keep the numbers small. I have not allowed any new members for the last 3 months. The last time I opened it up was in mid-April. So it's not something that's always open. So I have to keep the numbers small so that I can manage and give you guys high quality feedback and services with my sort of inner circle mentorship opportunity there. So if you're interested in it, and by the way, some of the things we've done: MTV, Fox Sports, Lifetime, HGTV, Outback Steakhouse, Dancing with the Stars, and many more. We get real opportunities. Many of these opportunities that we're giving you guys are paid, so the membership fees can obviously pay for themselves, but that requires that you participate. Okay, you can't just be a passive observer and just sit around and think that something's going to be handed to you on a silver plate. It's not going to happen. And yes, if you guys have any questions about the Syndicate as we're going through this, go ahead and post those in the chat. And then we'll get started with any other questions you guys have about sync licensing, libraries, Sync Edge, anything you guys want to really talk about. I'm here for you guys for this Q&A. Which brings me to the next part. You will also get access to my Sync Business Master Course. This is my 8 video. Each one's about an hour. So it's a lot of information. It's a complete in-depth deep dive into the business aspects of the sync licensing industry, track registrations, royalties, contracts, making sure you understand the legal language that gets tossed around in this industry. The contracts you see in this business are not nearly as complicated or as confusing as what you're going to see from a record label, but there can be some different terms and some different aspects to them that might send your head spinning and make you freak out and wonder, is this normal? Is this something that should be offered in the business? Well, in the Sync Business Master Course, you're going to understand exactly what's the usual, what these different terms are that are thrown around, and sometimes the interchangeable terms that are thrown in there. So at least you're prepared for when you get that acceptance letter and then get that contract from a library. You know, hopefully you can maybe send some or save a lot of money on not having to hire a lawyer. Again, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not giving you legal advice, but if you want to just at least get the basic education about how these contracts work, the Sync Business Master course, it would be included with your syndicate membership. And that's something I usually sell for $600. So $600 basically for free. And yeah, you get the digital downloads too. That's the music library directory this year, 2019. The submission templates, those are the email submission templates, and the music production blueprint. So for some ideas for how you structure various types of genres within this industry. So all that stuff is included with that. And the cost will either be $97 a month, or if you want to save some money, you can actually do an annual plan, $997, which brings your monthly down to $83 a month. And that's about the timeline that I feel that most students should shoot for being in the syndicate. It's not a lifelong membership program. That's not what it's designed to do. What it's designed to do is if you want some real feedback from a real professional like me in this business, you want to get your foot in the door, get a couple of your tracks out there into the system circulating, and you also want to get some feedback on some tracks that you've submitted to. You guys, many of you have known here in Sync Edge, you submit to a lot of libraries. If they reject you, they just say, oh, no, thanks, we're not interested. They don't really give you in-depth feedback as to why your tracks didn't go forward. So if you want that kind of feedback, that's what I'm doing here with the syndicate. Okay, libraries just don't have those resources. They get way too many submissions. They don't have the ability to give everybody detailed feedback about what they can do better. If they like your music, thumbs up. If they don't, usually they just say no thanks. Okay. So with the syndicate, you don't have to guess anymore, and potentially you don't have to waste a lot of time, maybe months, submitting and resubmitting to libraries, constantly getting rejected and not knowing that actually it was something on your end that you should have fixed. It might have been a production issue. I had one member who had been submitting for years and years and years, and even submitted to various other middleman companies trying to get these licensing opportunities, and was paying all this money, all this time, and never got anything accepted. And I listened to his music, and I was like, did nobody ever point out, that your drums are not following the grid, or that your guitars feel really synthetic and fake? There were a lot of big, obvious things that this producer should have been addressing probably 2 years before. Instead, he was just constantly shelling out a whole bunch of money for these, there's plenty of companies out there that do it. You pay them and they shop your music out there. That's not what the syndicate is. Okay, the syndicate does have licensing opportunities, but you get feedback for exactly what's happening. So essentially, I'm guiding you through this industry, helping you get your foot in the door, giving you some feedback so you know what really works, and then I want to push you on your way. Get out there, make your own contacts, make your own relationships in this business, okay? So that's what it's all about. So if you want to, and that's probably the biggest thing I should have said, you can't just sign up, okay? There's an application process. I do mentor and give a lot of time, resources, and feedback, obviously, to all the members involved that participate. You have to participate to get my resources and feedback and time, right? But I do want to know a little bit more about you in terms of what your expectations are, what your background is, what kind of music you produce, to make sure you're appropriate for the kind of opportunities that we host in the syndicate, okay? So there will be a link sent out to you guys through email to all Sync Edge and Sync Academy, but you guys are basically getting first dibs at it, Sync Edge, Sync Academy members. I'll email that out to you guys this Monday, so check out for your email, look in your email inboxes in the morning. I'll also post a big link, just like the one that you saw today for the big, live Q&A video thing at the very top of the page. Something like that will appear this Monday if you want to apply. So there'll be an application process. If you're accepted, I'll reach out to you within 48 hours. I'm very quick to do that. Again, 40 spots are open. That's it. No more. Last time we did this, we had, I think it was 3 days, and all 40 spots were taken. And I think the first day it was like over half of the spots were taken. So it's one of those things that even if you're on the fence, you might want to do it or you might not. I wouldn't even wait to fill out the application. Just fill out the application, be very thorough, let me know a little bit more about you. You can always turn it down. If I accept you and you go, you know what, actually I'm not really interested, that's fine. But at least you got your application in, because I'm basically going to be first come, first serve. The first people that get their applications in, I'm going to go one at a time chronologically and start sending those acceptance offers. And if you want to do it, awesome. If not, no worries at all. But definitely don't wait to sign up. So that's what's happening. This Monday, we'll have some spots open for the syndicate. So let me go ahead and go through. You guys go ahead and throw your questions in the chat now. I'm going to go through and see the ones that I missed already and say good morning to you guys. Kirk, good morning. Nigel. From Memphis. Right on, man. I went to Memphis in 2012, I think it was. It was a lot of fun. I went to Nashville and Memphis for a little trip with my dad, actually. It was really cool. Dare to be different. Good morning. Frederick, good morning. Glad you caught us live. Marshall Payne from San Antonio. Vivito, good morning. Mike, what's up, man? Jermaine, cost of syndicate. Yeah, I told you guys about that. $97 a month, or you can do the full year, $997. It'll bring your monthly. Or the other way you can think about it is with a $997 deal, you basically get 2 months free, because that's 12 months of access for the price of 10 months. So essentially, you're definitely saving some money in the long run. I would only do that though if you're really committed to do this for a full year. Okay, there's a few members where that seems to make sense for them. They know they need a lot of work and they really need to take some time to get some feedback and all that kind of stuff. So if you feel like that's going to be a timeline that's realistic for you, you might want to save your money, or save the money by going for the annual. But some other people, you can cancel anytime, of course. So you can join us for a month, decide, it's not really working for me. You can obviously cancel. Nigel, all right, take your money. Okay, only if you guys feel it's worthwhile. Again, I'm not trying to sell you guys anything that's not valuable, so that's why I want to be transparent about what the syndicate is, what you guys get included in it, and if you need that extra bit of service, that extra bit of push from me, that's what it's there for. Okay, that's why I created it. So it looks like we're going into some questions here. All right, Guyman, how would you make a notification to a non-exclusive library that a song that you submitted is now going to be submitted to an exclusive library? Well, you're going to need to basically ask them to take that track out of there. It's not so much about like just letting them know, hey, just so you know, this is now in an exclusive library. You need to basically tell them, I need to take that track out, right? If you plan on submitting a track that's in a non-exclusive library to an exclusive library, it's not about the non-exclusive library anymore. Now it's about the exclusive one, because you're basically going to them and you should be giving them a real exclusive track that is not distributed anywhere else. So before you even talk to this exclusive company, get it out of the non-exclusive one, okay? That's why if you go to the non-exclusive route, some of them will be pretty flexible with when you can take it out, when you can't. Some of them also will give you, you might have to wait 2-3 years to get those out of non-exclusive opportunities. So hopefully you read your contract, you know exactly what you got yourself into. And usually what they'll do is they'll have a sort of window where you can send like a 30-day notice and say, hey, I want to get this track out of your catalog. But make sure you understand the rules that you've agreed to with your original licensing contract. So, Sylvain, good to see you, man. How do you feel about working with companies that don't do their own distribution, i.e. they are a label that sign music from producers and they sign a deal with another library for distribution? I mean, it can work out. Let's see, well, you have a little bit more here. I'm wondering if these companies actively pitch music to clients, then send them to their distributor, or do they just collect tracks and take a cut, leaving the sales to the distributor? I mean, I'm trying to see if there's an advantage to working with these label companies instead of pitching directly to distributing library. I mean, obviously, the closer you can get directly to the person or company that's placing the music, the better, right? I mean, if there's 4 middlemen in between you and the placement, well, that means that everybody's going to put their hand in the pie, and by the end of it, you might have a very little, like, if you're going with a company and there's like, hey, you can keep 100% of your writers, but we're going to take control of the publishing and we're going to get this direct distribution deal with X company or whatever, if you feel that they've had a track record of getting those placements, they're doing well, give them a shot, give them a couple of tracks, see what they do, let them know, like, hey, I want to just kind of see, make sure that this is going to be something that, I've done this so many times with new libraries that I work with, and not even middleman libraries, just direct libraries. And I don't know exactly if they have a strong track record. I'm not really sure. I'm always upfront with them, and I'll say, hey guys, I'm going to send you guys some music, and if you can just be as open and transparent with me about what my music is being shopped to, what's going on. Basically, the more confidence I feel in you guys, the more music you're going to get from me. And if you love my music and you think I have high quality stuff to offer your catalog, then this is what I need from you. All right, I don't necessarily need to see the royalties or the placements right away. I know that takes time, but I need to see that like my music isn't just sitting on the shelf. So that's maybe a conversation, Sylvain, you might want to have with them and just say, I just want to make sure that my time and my energy is going to be well spent with your company. Of course, you can always just give them a few tracks and see what they do. It's a 50-50 thing. Some companies will probably take a bunch of tracks, sit on them, not do anything with them. Hopefully at some point they'll, I don't know, maybe try to do a shopping deal where they submit all of them to a library. Who knows what their real plans are. Others are like very active and they're going to take those tracks and immediately get you guys some placements. So you kind of have to just wait and see which ones are actually going to deliver. All right, Guyman, when you sign a contract with a library for, say, 2 years, are the subsequent tracks that you send subject to the same contract? Yes, usually it's going to say something to the effect of this is going to cover all the tracks that you submit to them. And what they'll usually do is they'll put like a Schedule A, like they'll put an attachment to the contract, and that attachment will they won't do it for every track that you submit, but maybe after like 10 or 20 tracks you submit to them, they'll probably send you an updated Schedule A that'll have all the titles of your tracks, and it'll say, hey, make sure you initial and sign Schedule A to make sure we're updating. So basically what that's doing is the original contract's covering all the tracks that you're submitting to them, and that Schedule A is basically listing, here's all the tracks that are covered by this contract. So that's how it's usually worked for my career. I usually sign the initial agreement. If I have 10 tracks that I've sent to them, that'll be on Schedule A. It'll be listed somewhere. And then basically every month or so, it depends on how fast you're submitting tracks to them. Sometimes I get these every 2 weeks. I'll get this sort of DigiSigner online contract. Hey, make sure you just initial and sign this. These are the new tracks that we've accepted from you, and they're covered under our original licensing contract. That's usually how it works. All right, James, good morning. Nigel, been getting up at 5 a.m. all week to work on the 60-day challenge. Having a lot of fun to get 6 new EDM tracks. Awesome, man. Waking up early, it's the best thing I ever did. Definitely. For a while I was doing the 4:30 a.m. thing. That was really, really early. Now I'm back to about 5:30. So, but yeah, anything before 6 basically I find is really, really good. So, dare to be different. What are some things you can add or put in your own sounds to make them or your own? Combining sounds, like if you have like a synth chord, something like that, you can sometimes duplicate that track, the same MIDI notes, and then add a new what do you call it, a different synth on top of it, so you can duplicate things. That's how you can make kind of a unique, interesting hybrid sound like that. Also just really diving into synth and sound design. We have some tutorials in Sync Academy basically all about that. Trevor actually does that for us. So you can basically learn to kind of get some nitty gritty technical tweaking going on in the synths that you're using. So those would be the 2 ways that I would definitely recommend getting some originality to your sounds. Next open review in the syndicate will be immediately after we do our sync contest. So this week coming up, we're going to be opening up enrollment, getting those 40 new members in. Once those new members are in, the first thing we're going to do is do that sync contest. This is the first time we've ever done that. Hopefully it works out well. I'm kind of just sort of going to put it out there, see how the members like it. If you guys dig it, we'll do it more often. If you guys don't like it, we'll never do it again. But we'll do that. That'll last about a week. And then immediately after that, we're going back to our next open review. So basically, I'd say within 2 weeks, we're going to do our next open review there. Sylvain, can you see any advantage to signing away copyright to a library versus a company that offers essentially the same terms but has a 5-year reversion clause? I mean, it always comes down to if they're going to deliver for you. So the company that might take your copyrights and want to own your stuff in perpetuity, but let's say they're the ones getting you 10, 20 grand in royalties per year. The other company gives you that 5-year reversion clause, but does nothing for you. Which one do you want, right? So at the end of the day, it's all about placements, royalties, income. So whichever company is making those for you as you start working and progressing with them, they're essentially the ones that you want to do. I know in the beginning, this is sort of like you're kind of running into this with a blindfold on. I totally understand the question because, well, it sounds better to have a reversion clause. Well, I can't just say 100% of the time, always go with the reversion clause, because what if this is a company that's, kind of not doing much and they're kind of going to sleep, and there's many libraries that had a really strong start maybe 2-3 years ago, and then now, since nothing's really going on, they kind of go to sleep and they don't do much, and it's kind of like their part-time passion project, and they're not really actively hungry going out there and really pitching. So I can't really give you that 100% which one's better. It really depends on the results you get. How does closing credit music fit in with the industry? Is that considered trailer music or simply an instrumental? Curious if there's a format for that type of closing credit music. I mean, that can be anything. I don't know if I would really necessarily call that trailer music, because a lot of times you'll see in closing credits for films, especially for movies, sometimes it's just a popular song. A lot of times with like big blockbuster movies, they hit the ending credits and it's like one of the most popular, iconic pop songs that are out there right now, or even what's more common now is like an old 80s or a 90s hit that kind of gets people, that everybody knows. So sometimes it's just a pop song that they wanted to license and spend a lot of money on. So it can be instrumental. I mean, it can be, I've seen all different types. You guys have probably seen vocal instrumental. So not necessarily a format for that kind of a thing. That's usually coming down to a music supervisor or sometimes a director of a film going, I want this song to be playing as we end the movie. So no, not necessarily a format for that. Let's see. In your experience, do libraries rely... Sorry, I just lost it again. In your experience, do libraries rely to submissions they don't accept? I've been sending amazing submissions to the library since early June. Haven't heard back. Some do and some don't. You're saying, do they even give us any response? Some will just ignore. Some of them won't even listen to it at all, or respond to you or say anything. So, and why is that? Sometimes they get too many to reply to everybody. If they listen to your music and they don't like it, they just won't have the time to reply to everybody. Other times, maybe they just are really, really busy. I've had one member, he got accepted 4 months after you originally submitted to them. Okay, so some of these libraries, they're just really knee deep in traveling and pitching for new opportunities. And so they're just not in the mode for accepting new writers in that current time. So I can't tell you exactly why. It would be great if all of them did. Some of them on their websites do claim that and say, hey, no matter what happens, we will respond to you. We'll let you know if we like it or not. Generally, they do follow that, but even those, there's going to be the exceptional one that just, email slips through the cracks. Everybody gets busy. Happens to me, guys. I get, I don't know, probably 50 to 100 emails a day. Once every 2 weeks or something, I'll get an email that I was going to reply, and something then came up that I had to go take care of, and I just forgot to. Luckily with Gmail, it's great. It'll pop up and say, hey, you got this 5 days ago. Do you want to respond? Which usually keeps me at least not forgetting things for too long. But we're all human, and this stuff kind of happens. So let's see. Frederick, what months or weeks of the year are bad picks for initial music library pitching, reaching out? When should I expect them to be on vacation? Basically, the only time I'd say is a really bad time is probably the last 2 weeks of December. Like Christmas and New Year's. Everybody's out of the office. Everybody's on vacation mode. Nobody wants to do anything. So those are pretty much the only 2 weeks that I would say are really bad to think about starting a relationship with somebody. But you can still get new contracts signed in November. I've definitely done that. In fact, 2 years ago, I got in with a new library that we're working with for the syndicate. We got our contract inked in basically the end of November, so before the whole Christmas season sort of started. So yeah, any other time, I'd say those are the only 2 weeks that I would stay away from. Guyman, what is the correct job title of what we do? Yeah, that's a good question, because we do everything, right? We produce, we mix, we master. Sometimes we market our own music. Sync licensing music producers sounds good to me. You're a music producer, you're a sync producer, you're a licensing producer, TV film music producer. You can call yourself, people don't, the composer thing, some people get a little bit of a snubby nose about that. Well, you're not a proper composer, so you can't call yourself a composer. Whatever, I don't care about any of that stuff. Call yourself whatever you want to call yourself, right? You produce music, you create music, you mix it, you master it, you deliver it for the TV film industry. That's what you do. So however you want to phrase it, yours is great right there. I like that. James, first, you're doing a great job. I got a contract offer. Awesome. Question, who owns the master of the composition I submit? That depends on the contract. So you need to read that contract, understand what it says. If you're confused about it, definitely you can ask the library directly and just make sure that they can make that clear to you. That's also why I do the sync license, the master course, the business master course, so that you guys can understand at least my perspective of these licensing contracts and what they really mean. But if you have any question about a contract, ask them directly. What does this mean? Do I lose the compositions? Are you owning the compositions? What's going on here? If they drag their feet, they don't want to answer your questions, they're kind of being wishy-washy about it or using even more vague language, potential red flag, right? You never want to do business with somebody who's not being transparent and clear and open about what you're getting involved with. Usually a good library wants you to know exactly what you're signing, and so they're not going to mince words or try to confuse you or sort of chastise you for asking them these very critical questions. They should be open and available to make sure you understand what you're signing. If they don't, that might be a sign that maybe that's not the right library to partner with. Vivito, how do I know which libraries are active versus those that aren't shopping music? Some of it's a bit of a guessing game, but for me, I basically look at the website. As you guys know from the SyncEdge videos, I see what their recent shopping or their recent placements are, how recent the posts are. I also get a lot of, for me, I'm a little bit privileged because I get a lot of firsthand reports from many of you guys actually that have emailed me and told me that you got accepted by some of these libraries, and some also libraries that have yet to be recommended in SyncEdge. So I get a lot of sort of firsthand knowledge about which libraries are actively doing stuff out there. That's almost impossible to find, though. I've found there's really no places out there to know exactly what all these libraries are doing at once. It's just such a hard thing to keep track of all of them. So I do my best to make sure I'm only pushing you guys to libraries that have an active, either I directly know that they're doing some stuff actively, or I have basically secondhand knowledge from another composer that I've talked to. So that's the best that I can give for you guys. Obviously, there are no guarantees. So if you submit to a library, they say, oh, sorry, we're not accepting writers. That could be just for the couple of months now. That could be a polite way of them saying they didn't like your music. That's very common for a lot of libraries to say that, oh, we're not accepting writers. Well, it could be them just not liking your music. And some people just don't want to say that. And so they'd rather go with a sort of easy excuse. Sorry, we're just not accepting writers right now. I have to believe that even a library that's massive and very successful and has a lot of great composers, if you come in with a solid pitch, very high quality licensable music that's very useful for their clients, I can't imagine them saying no to you. I just can't imagine, because it's a service industry and you're basically embellishing and enhancing their catalog pretty much instantly. I just can't imagine anybody, even if they have great music and a lot of composers, just ignoring you and not wanting to do that. I can imagine them making exceptions for that rule if they feel that you're going to be a great addition to their roster. So, in some of those ways, it's like even some of these libraries that say, "Oh, we don't accept any submissions." I mean, yes and no. There might be a reason to not submit to them, but in some ways, don't let that really get in your way. Really make sure, don't just submit just to submit, but if you really feel that your tracks could really be competitive and serve their clients and really be on par with what they got out there, just go for it. You never know. I mean, crazier things have happened in the industry. All right, let's scroll back up a little bit here. Guyman, do libraries register your songs after they are placed or upon signing the contract? It can be both. So sometimes they do it right when they collect your tracks, or they batch them maybe at the end of the month. Other libraries will wait until there's a placement, so make sure you ask them so you know exactly what to be expecting as you look for your registrations. James, the contract I received doesn't state how long our contract agreement. How should I proceed? Ask them to put that in there. Ask them to say, hey, I need to make sure that there's a term in this. Is this in perpetuity? Is there a reversion clause? Can I get my tracks out at some point if they haven't been placed? That's what I would ask for. And usually that's about a 2 or 3 year window. So just say, hey, this is an incomplete contract. I don't know how long this is going to last for. Frederick, exclusive versus SoundCloud. Keeping a private SoundCloud leak, okay. Okay to originally have the track public on SoundCloud if removed before the signing. Okay to have my own remakes, derivatives, keeping. So all these questions you need to ask the exclusive library that you've signed with. Okay, so asking me doesn't do you any good because I'm not the library. So I don't care what you do with your music, but I'm not the one that you have the contract with, right? That exclusive library that you have the contract with, let's say you had all your tracks up on SoundCloud, then you get accepted. You need to immediately ask them, great, thanks for accepting my tracks. What can I do with these? Can I put them on a SoundCloud, private? Can I put a little snippet of them? Can I put together a reel showcasing what I've done? Ask them. Being 100% transparent is always what you want to do. I can't give you an answer to that because I'm not the library. So I don't know what their needs are, what they're comfortable with, what they're not comfortable with. Usually they'll be flexible with you. They'll let you maybe put something on a private link, or sometimes they'll say, oh, you can put up to like 30 seconds of your tracks somewhere, but usually not the whole thing and not in a public place. That's what's usually going to happen with an exclusive. Tom, can you please clarify how you label folders and song files submitted to libraries, and do you use spaces between words of song? All of that is included in the, I have 2 or 3 tutorials in Sync Academy dedicated to file management and naming tracks and all that kind of stuff. So you should definitely check that out. If you're not already a member of Sync Academy, definitely sign up. Lots of good stuff there. Nigel, with 60-day challenge, I hit an issue getting a track started. I began with chord progressions, but quickly ended up in the weeds. I chose a key and some chords and then worked on the harmonic rhythm, but it quickly grew too complex and more like a melody. One solution for me was to keep the chord progression real simple and then develop a separate melody to fit. I've seen the advice on starting track in the Academy course, but wonder if this is a common problem and what other solutions there may be. So your issue was chord progressions ended up in the weeds. I choose a key and some chords and worked on the harmonic rhythm. It quickly grew too complex. I mean, yeah, basically, for whatever reason, winding up in the weeds when you start a track is everybody, we can all raise our hands. We've all been there. And there's so many ways to obviously get stuck on a track. So I do have that writer's block tutorial, and those are the things that I do that pretty much 99% of the time get me out of it. Once in a while I'm just burnt out. And sometimes that means that you need to go get away from music for a couple of hours, maybe even a day. Sometimes just going and exercising, working out your mind, or going and doing, if you have errands or chores you need to do around the house or something like that, do something completely unmusic related. Sometimes you just clear out the cobwebs a little bit, and then when you come back, you're just fresh and you got some better ideas. Hitting your head against the wall with the same musical idea that feels like it's going nowhere is sometimes the worst thing you can do. So sometimes just having a clean break from that process. Sorry, I just noticed my thing was clipping. Hopefully my audio is not too blown out. I'll talk a little bit quieter, but just having a clean break from that that process is sometimes the best thing to do. There's so many ways, obviously, just experimenting with new sounds, putting a new plugin in, getting a new reference track. Maybe the reference track you're working with, hopefully you are working with one. Maybe the one you're working with just is kind of getting stale. You're not really digging it anymore. So many different ways you can do that. Definitely check out that that writer's block video though. Sylvain, since we are seeing the results years later, it's tough to know which way to go. Finding the right company to work with kind of freaks me out. I could be working with a few years for not much. It is, and signing away copyright. It is, Sylvain. I wish I could give you a guaranteed, here's what you do. I'm giving you guys my best process of what I've definitely signed music to libraries that have sat on it and done nothing with it. Obviously, I'm not recommending those libraries to you guys and not pushing those out there. But that doesn't mean that they didn't get anybody placements. That means that maybe other writers on their catalog got some great placements, but mine just kind of sat on the shelf. You're kind of, I understand the fear, and I don't want to dismiss that at all. It's a very legitimate fear. But it's also the same question of like, well, how can I guarantee that everything will kind of work out in life, right? You can't ask that, and you can't expect that, because there's just too many moving parts to reality. So the best thing you can do is focus on yourself, focus on high quality music, focus on doing the best research you possibly can. That's why you guys invested in SyncEdge, to get the best possible research that's out there online, and take a shot at it, take a stab at it. There's really nothing else you can do other than that. If I figure out a way to have certainty so you don't have to even worry about where your tracks are going to end up, I will let you know. But it's just not the way this industry works. It's not how life works. So unfortunately, you do have to take some risks in this industry. Dare to be different. Do you, as a producer, typically own your master? Sometimes. Some of the libraries will allow you to keep your masters. Others will want to take ownership of them. It just depends on the licensing contract you sign. Tony, do you use iZotope Ozone Standard or Advanced? I actually didn't know there was a difference between a standard and advanced. I think I use iZotope. I think I'm on 4. Actually, I don't have it loaded up right here, so I can't tell you guys. So I'm guessing that I have a standard one, so I'm not exactly sure. Wasn't even aware there was a difference between the two. Frederick, exclusive versus official sample library demos on SC. Okay to sign originals or my own remakes, derivatives for own demos? I'm confused by your question, Frederick. If you can kind of rephrase it. Yeah, if you can just rephrase that, man. I'm not following that question. Sorry. Guyman, is a good exclusive contract term 2 years with upfront fees? Yeah, that sounds very fair. 2 years that you'd have a reversion clause and they give you some consideration fees. That sounds great, because then you make some money up front. And if they don't get you any placements, you can take your track out in 2 years. Go find another home for it. Very good deal. Again, that's assuming they give you your writer share and you're keeping all that, obviously. Again, what's this SC, Frederick? I don't know what you mean by SC, official demo track restrictions. If you can just expand on that so I can understand what you're trying to ask. Nurse, what's up? I know we're doing an interview here in probably an hour, I think. Is it necessary to have both publisher and writer accounts on ASCAP to collect all money on sync placements? If you have any licensing agreements that allow you to keep a portion of your publishing, then yes, you should get a publisher company set up. Most libraries that you get signed with are not going to allow that. They're not going to give you any portion of their of the publishing. They're usually going to keep that 100%, so you'll keep the writer share. So you don't have to really worry about setting up that publisher account until you do have an agreement in front of you that says, hey, you get to keep 50% of your publishing. Well, then it makes sense that you should go get a publishing company set up. And we actually have that, what's it called? tutorial in Sync Academy, so you guys can go check that out. Mike, actually, who's with us right now, I think he's still with us, did that for us. Really, really great presentation. Nigel's talking about the track that got stuck. It's not that it's going nowhere, just that the chord progression gets real messy sounding fast. Okay, yeah, sometimes you just need to sort of strip things down to a sort of 4 chords or 8 chord progression, simplify things a little bit more. Vivito, a few weeks back, I sent 6 tracks pitched as a new album for the catalog. They answered quick, but informed me that it might take a while for them to check it out because they were sorting the summer schedule. What would that mean? Your guess is as good as mine. I wish I could be a mind reader. I don't know. That could mean that they have a lot of pitching that they're doing. Some companies, they do have to travel a lot to pitch to networks and production companies, trailer houses, all that kind of stuff. They just got a lot of stuff going on this summer, man. So, that means that you could essentially, they're telling you they're not going to do anything for the next 2 months, probably until the end of August is usually when summer's over. So you have to decide, do you want to let those tracks sit there and hopefully they come back to you and give you an answer? Or maybe that would be a sign for you like, all right, let them know, well, thanks so much. I'm going to go ahead and start shopping them to other libraries, but I would certainly be interested in working with you guys. Please reach out at the end of the summer when things clear up and I'll have some other music for you guys, right? You could kind of open the door, extend the invitation to work with them down the road. That might be a good thing to do. All right. Nigel, a question about transitional elements. My EDM structure is something like build up, chorus 1, chorus 2, verse, breakdown. Similar to what I see in tutorials, but notice there are no gaps or transitions in video examples. I like to use a lot of 1 or 2 bar transition with sound effects, reverses, drops between sections. But is this discouraged? No. Definitely should have transitions. I don't know which ones you're talking about where you don't see gaps or transition. I mean, almost every one of my tutorials that I put out there has transitions. Sometimes there's no gap in between like a verse or a chorus, but I always have transitional elements, swooshes, glitches, drum fills. So no, huge. Transitions, in fact, the opposite, are almost mandatory in this to keep the momentum of the energy of the track moving forward. Your EDM structure is kind of interesting that you went from a chorus to another chorus. Usually I do is build up, chorus, break it down, verse, build it up to the second chorus, maybe have a breakdown at the end, and then we finish off with a chorus 3. Not like hard set in stone, but that's usually what I do. Mark, got my first PRO royalties this week. Awesome, man. Why such a wide range of royalty amounts even on the same show network? Yeah, well, there are so many elements that go into why a royalty gets paid out, which elements go into calculating that amount. The PROs, and certainly PRS, I'm sure, are not transparent with the sort of calculation, the algorithm that they use, but it's everything. It's time of day, network, ratings, how the song was used, how long the song was placed. Is it a vocal? Is it an instrumental? I did get a placement recently. I was going to do a video about it. I might still do it, where the same TV show, same as you, like one TV show placement, I think, I can't remember the details of it, but I think it was the exact same placement, maybe on a different, can't be a different network. I remember it was like the same placement, same amount of time, but there was one variable that was different, and one royalty I got was like $100 or something like that, and the other one was like 13 cents or something really ridiculous, or maybe $1, whatever it was. And I don't know. There are so many questions in this in terms of why things get paid out what they do. It always starts though with the big pie that the PROs are able to negotiate from the major networks. Okay, so I think it's every year, it might be every couple of years, they renegotiate these blanket licensing deals for like NBC, ABC, CBS, right? And they say, hey, you can use any of the music that we have in our ASCAP catalog, pay us our millions of dollars basically per year. So ASCAP takes, and BMI will take that big pocket of money, that big sort of pie of money, and be able to dish that out. They take a little bit for themselves to stay in business and to operate and to pay everybody that's doing the job, and then they take whatever's left over and divvy it out to all their songwriters and publishers. So it's not like minimum wage, all right? It's not like it's like, well, you are guaranteed to make $15 an hour as you work in this business. We don't have that in the music industry, okay? It's all negotiable, it's all flexible, and there are tons of different variables that determine why we get what we paid. So. All right, Frederick. Oh, SC is SoundCloud. Okay, so if you can still rephrase your question, Frederick, because now it's buried up there. If you can rephrase that. Dare to be different. There's an advanced ozone. I have that one. You have access a little more. Okay, yeah, I'll check it out. I haven't heard of it. I'm happy with what I got. I don't know if I need any more features, but I'll definitely see. Maybe it'll be something cool. Joshua, after you submit to a library and get denied, is it okay to send the same album to another library? Absolutely. That you should be doing that. That's what you should be doing. Somebody says, thanks, but nah, no thanks. Not really interested for us. Politely accept that and thank them. Never burn a bridge. You never know who you might be working with down the road. So even if you get that acceptance or rejection letter, thank them for their time. Thank you guys so much for listening. If your needs ever change, if you're ever open to this kind of music again, never hesitate to reach out to me. I'd be happy to work with you guys. Keep those doors open everywhere you can possibly get communication. Okay, there's not enough players in this industry that you can just walk away from anybody. Okay, so always keep that sort of door open. And you never know. Maybe next month, some writer that they have leaves their catalog and you're the one that does that same kind of music. And they're like, you know what? This guy a month ago sent us some music. We didn't need it then. We need it now. They might reach back out to you. Again, stranger things have happened. So always keep that open. What's your take on libraries that require you not to be a member of a PRS to acquire music? I'm not personally a fan of them. The only reason I would join any of those is if you have some music, let's say you're submitting to the TV film world, they all get rejected, you're not really finding a home for a couple of tracks. That might be a library. That sounds like a royalty-free library, right? They're not going to go around collecting royalties or anything like that. So I don't think that's a path to full-time income. I don't know many, if any, producers that are doing that full-time. They might throw a couple of tracks here and there, make a couple of bucks. I've seen people on YouTube talking about that. But the stories I hear are not people doing full-time income with these sort of royalty-free stock libraries. That's what it sounds like. That's kind of a deal. So maybe some sort of, the tracks that just didn't quite get a home, you want to throw those over to them. That might be something you can do. But as a main sort of focus of your career, I don't recommend it. Very welcome, Guyman. Glad you're finding it useful, man. Mike's still here, just laying back, taking in all the info. Awesome. Yeah, if you guys are in Sync Academy, we did release that, Mike, right? The publishing one. I don't think we waited for next month. I think we released that. Maybe we didn't, actually. I might have been just teasing you guys with something we didn't do. Anyways, it's coming. If it's not already on the Sync Academy platform, Mike did an incredible PowerPoint presentation about why and when to start your own publishing company. It's literally the best out there. There's nothing else out there online. So Mike has graced us with his wisdom and knowledge about that kind of stuff. He's our newest Sync Academy Pro, in case you guys didn't know. So if it's not in there now, sorry, I teased you guys. It's coming. We'll probably, if it's not in there right now, we'll definitely make that available August 1st next month. Every month we put out new tutorials in the platform. Samuel, does a library let us know when our track got placed? Sometimes, not regularly, I'll be honest with you guys. Probably 10-20% of the time, they're going to let you guys know. Some of that's because they don't even know. So oftentimes they'll just put their catalog out there for their clients and let all their clients just shop and take things. And they might get records of that online to say, all right, they downloaded this, they took this song, but they don't necessarily get the cue sheets. The cue sheets get submitted to PROs. So sometimes a library is completely in the dark on what's going on with their catalog. And sometimes they also have to wait with you for those royalties. Other times, if there's a custom opportunity or something directly that they're involved with getting the track placed, they'll let you know. And I've gotten a few of those in my career where they'll say, hey, Jesse, watch out for this next Kardashian episode. One of your tracks got placed there, right? Once in a blue moon, I've gotten some of those notifications. Or I got my track placed in that movie, which was Let's Be Cops. And I got notified about that. So obviously I went to the theater and watched it. It was not a good movie, but I'm glad to get the placement or whatever. So I did not enjoy the movie. I could barely even get through it. Luckily, my track was in the first 10 minutes of the movie. That was pretty cool, but then I had to kind of sit there for the rest of it, which is I don't know, kind of torturous for me. But hey, I still get royalties. That movie has been playing in tons of networks in tons of countries all over the world, and I constantly get royalties from that. I think it was a 30-second placement or something like that. So once in a while, you'll get those, but honestly, the biggest notification you're going to get is your royalty statement when it comes in 9 months to a year later. Okay, Nigel, I do see you using transitional elements, but they're at the end of, say, an 8-bar section, making that section 6 or 7 bars instead of the full 8 is what I meant. The structure I use is from Trevor's EDM structure video. So kind of confused by your question there. So I use it at the end of an 8-bar section, and that makes it a 6 or 7-bar section. You mean the last bar is a transitional section? Is that kind of what you mean? I'm not really sure. Maybe you can rephrase that. All right, Frederick, rephrase question. If I aim for exclusive signings, would it be, in general, be okay to keep public SoundCloud uploads or my own websites without their domains until I'm offered a signing. Yeah, absolutely. That's what shopping your music is for. If you have your own website or if you have SoundCloud, definitely you're up there to push it out there. You can keep it private if you want to. Chances are, unless you have like a huge fan base and you have thousands of people or hundreds of people going to your website every day, the chances of somebody stealing your music and putting it out there or something like that are so low. I wouldn't worry too much about that. You can obviously be very protective. You know, you can put those little sound drops, like audio tags on your music. You can protect yourself that way, or just keep it completely private. I would not put a password up. I would not make people jump through hoops to listen to your music. I would literally put it on a streamable link. If you guys have not created your own website, definitely create your own website. I have that tutorial. It's here in the Sync Academy membership area. It's a button where you can follow along, and literally after this Q&A, if you want, 1 hour, you have your own custom domain. You can put a streamable link to your music that you want to shop. You can do it right there. It's the most professional way you can do it, but absolutely, you can put it up there in a public way if you want, or a private way if you'd like to. Vivito, what made me branch out to from just a music producer to a teacher, business entrepreneur, and such? I know it could be a great personal question, so anything would be appreciated. I actually did a video basically all about this, about why I started first it was my YouTube video, our YouTube channel, and wanting to reach out to other producers who want to get involved in this. The main reason is I hit a big burnout phase in 2016 where I felt like giving up. I was too isolated. I wasn't excited. I felt like I was just kind of like covering my own previous songs. No excitement, no creative juices were flowing through me. Getting tons of placements, income was growing, no complaints there. Just the joy was out of it though. And I'll tell you guys, like, getting placements and getting money means nothing if you're not having fun in this business. It's so true. If you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong. So I took a break, walked away from the industry for a couple of months. When I regrouped and realized, I want to kind of create a community around me that wants to get involved in this. And I've gotten this asked from me so many times from so many producers, Jesse, that's so cool what you do. How do I get into that? How do I get involved? And when I looked online, I saw a few people talking about it, but man, there was a lot of bad information out there. There was a lot of people who were saying they knew about how this industry worked, but you actually look at their track record, never got a placement, like have no relationships with libraries. I don't know what they're talking about, and they're putting out this like garbage advice. And I was like, okay, I got to fix that. That was basically one of my big motivating factors to get involved. I've always been a teacher too. Some of my jobs, I was a after-school tutor when I was younger, like in high school. I was a swim instructor, believe it or not. I was a lifeguard and a swim instructor, and I actually did that when I first moved to LA to make some money. I've had many teaching, training jobs. My parents are both teachers. They're both public school teachers. Maybe it runs in the blood. Maybe I just was born around that kind of a thing. So I love just teaching. I love showing people things and educating. I get joy out of it. So it just made sense. It was like, why not get excited, kind of fall in love again, sort of remarry myself to making music and sync licensing, but now add this other element, which was also very challenging. How do you start an online channel that's consistently productive? How do you start this business? How do you start, Sync Edge here, which is actually, by the way, we're at our 1-year anniversary. So hooray to all of us. That's pretty cool. And it's going strong. No plans to slow it down, guys. So really cool things. So anyways, that's basically why. Mike, have you ever worked with any exclusive libraries that also release your music publicly on Spotify, etc.? If so, did they take exclusivity over the master rights to do so, and did they split mechanicals with you? I personally haven't worked with anybody who's done that, so that would be a new one for me if they're taking your music and then also trying to monetize it through streaming platforms and that kind of thing. So I don't have any expertise on that. I would hope that they would do some splitting with you, obviously, that they're going to be monetizing your music in other ways. So I unfortunately couldn't give you any sort of stories or anecdotes about that. All right. Some talk about Isotope. All right. Ed, what's up? I'm an ASCAP member with no tracks registered yet, and we'll be submitting ASCAP resignation form to quit. Do I need their okay before I can apply for BMI? Yes, absolutely. You can't get ASCAP on the phone? Well, that sucks. Keep trying, man. You'll get them. Yeah, just hound them, literally, every single morning, first thing in the morning, as soon as their open hours are. Just call them first thing. Just keep calling. Yeah, you do need to get your sort of official, they'll give you a, I forgot what they call it. It's like a resignation form or something like that. And they've signed it. It's 100% written off, and you are 100% clear to go. So wait until you have that before you sign up with BMI. Absolutely. Yeah, Martin. Not the greatest movie, but hey, we can't control what movies or TV shows our tracks get placed in, but it's all good. I got the royalties for it. So, John, regarding the opportunities that come up within the syndicate, what genres would you say are most prevalent? Essentially, they are really similar to the ones that I recommend here in Sync Edge. So, rock, pop, hip hop, orchestral, sometimes trailer. Lately, with one of our library partners, we've been doing a lot of throwback opportunities, meaning we do sort of like legacy. So we did a 50s rock and roll, we just did a doo-wop one, we've done a 70s funk one, we did 80s synth pop, we did 90s hip hop. So some of our library partners lately are going into the kind of nostalgic lane, which is getting really popular. So sometimes it's really fun too to kind of reinvent your childhood in a way and go back to some of these older sounds, which is cool. But generally, like right now, like I said, we have orchestral hip hop. And actually, one that's not really mentioned so much in Sync Edge is Asian hybrid. So it's kind of like a world sort of a thing. So it's a lot of fun, though. You can give it a shot, of course. But basically, the general library or the genres that I recommend through Sync Edge are the ones that we include with the syndicate opportunities. Awesome. Glad that helped, Frederick. All right, guys. Well, we're all caught up here, so go ahead and put any last-minute questions. We got about 10 minutes or so before I'll pop out, so I'll be happy to stick around. And how many do we got here? We still got 29 of you. Awesome. You guys are the hard workers. You guys are the fanatics here. That's great. Sticking around the whole time. That's cool. And just so you guys do know, yeah, I got a lot of, I think it was from last month's live Q&A. People were really like, hey, you got to send us the login area to the membership page to get the Sync Edge, especially on the announcement email. I wasn't doing that before. Main reason is because a lot of people who are no longer in Sync Edge still get a lot of those emails because they haven't been removed for the email list. So I was sending, if I did that, I was like, well, I'm going to be sending out the membership area to a lot of people that'll then try to create a new membership account, create a whole bunch of dummy accounts, and it basically just clogs up my system, and I don't want a bunch of dummy accounts in the Sync Edge membership area. But I fixed that because now even if they try to do that, I've created the live Q&A membership area in the paid access area. So only those of you that actually have a paid membership are going to be able to see that live Q&A video. So from now on, you will have, and you did have it this time, and I think you had it last month as well, a direct link to log into the membership area. But you definitely should bookmark Sync Edge, the membership area. Just bookmark it instantly, so you don't have to even go look at it in the future. You just always have it. Nourish, the syndicate. I talked about it actually in the beginning of this video, buddy. So once this is done, I'll repost it to the Sync Edge membership area, and you can watch it. I give about a 5-minute speech about what it's all about and what's included. And applications will start happening this Monday. I'll email you guys, and then there'll also be a button here in the Sync Edge site. Vito, please keep bringing these insiders to Sync Academy with Mike and Netflix. So absolutely, that's the plan. Yeah, Mike actually reached out to me. He had seen, I think he had seen some of my YouTube videos. And so yeah, it's kind of cool to have this platform because what happens is, and I get reached out to by libraries and all kinds of interesting people, and also really popular YouTube artists that have like millions of views and tons of subscribers that are now learning about sync licensing. They're also kind of contacting me because they're like, hey man, I'm doing this thing which is cool, and yeah, but I kind of want to get into sync licensing. I've heard there's some great opportunities there. So it's cool to have this sort of just platform here that people kind of find, and it attracts really interesting people and insiders, like you said. Yeah, I'm learning so much. I mean, this has been such an educational process for me to get all these insights. Like I've learned so much from Mike and all the other Sync Academy members as well about what they've seen in the industry and what works for them. That's what you guys get, obviously, with Sync Academy is just this multitude of perspectives of all these different experiences in the industry. All right. In your experience, when a music supervisor tells you they'll reach out if anything comes up, you'll be a great fit for. Are they sincere or being dismissive? I've had music supervisors tell me that after the supervisor told me they loved what we do. The manager said she added my music to a real and potential list of composers. I don't want to stay on their back just because of the fear of them forgetting me. I mean, again, you're kind of asking me to mind read. I can't do that. I don't know what that means. But what it doesn't mean is that they're going to put you under contract right now and take your music, right? So they're not giving you that. So if that's what you want, and that's the kind of relationship you want with a music library, and they're saying, no, we'll keep you in mind if something comes up. They might. I mean, something might come up in a week and they'll say, hey, actually, now we got something for you. They might just be pushing you off and blowing smoke. I honestly, I'm sorry. I couldn't tell you exactly what their intentions are or what they really mean. But if that's not good enough for you, move on. There's no reason. You can obviously leave the door open and say, okay, thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and move on with these tracks and shop it to other opportunities. But please let me know if there's something that might be, my strengths might be applicable for your opportunities. Hit me up. I'm ready to work. I'm hungry, right? Frederick, yes, insiders and please also some lucrative searches opportunities, even though they're highly competitive. That is the syndicate. That's what you get with the syndicate, Frederick. I don't put the opportunities just in the general Sync Academy area. You have to be a syndicate member to participate in those. If this is from Samuel, if the library doesn't request a kind of genre, but we have a full album, do you think it is a good idea to email and ask if they are interested? It doesn't request a kind of genre, but we have a full album. Yeah, I mean, usually a library, sometimes they'll tell you, like, we want rock, we want hip-hop, we want this or that. Or they'll say, hey, we're open to all genres. A lot of libraries do say that. But yeah, you should be researching them, looking and listening through their catalog and seeing what kind of action they've been getting lately. So make sure you're making an informed, educated, and tailored pitch for them. But absolutely, you should be submitting tracks and an album. What's your take, is from Eddie, what's your take on building catalogs like Christmas hip-hop, holiday music, Halloween stuff, etc., with and without vocals? Is it worth building these? If a library you want to work with needs them. So first I would find out if a library has them and if they currently need more. Some of them will, some of them won't. It doesn't make sense, though, to build a huge catalog of that stuff and then not find somebody to distribute it through, because you just wasted a lot of time on something. Those are sort of timeless, right? Christmas music, holiday music, that stuff. It can obviously last for a long time, but I would just make sure you have somebody in mind that already needs it, already kind of in the ballpark. And you can always reach out to a library and say, hey, I'm currently building a Christmas hip-hop catalog. Is this something you'd be interested in down the road? We're about to complete it. That could be something you can do. And if they say, oh, absolutely, we need that kind of stuff all the time, at least you got a lead before you spend all that time and energy putting that stuff in there, right? Perhaps you can do new polls every once in a while to see what active producers in Sync Academy are looking for tutorial wise. For example, for me, I'd love more trailer stuff, more business stuff. Absolutely. You know what? Thanks for reminding me of that, because I was supposed to be doing that last week and I forgot to do that. But yeah, from time to time, I will put out polls and I'll ask you guys exactly what it is you want more of, what you really want to see. I can also see the view numbers through the videos and the tutorials that I post up there. So I can see actually which ones are really popular, which ones only a couple people are watching. So that also informs what I decide to work on for the next month's licensing or tutorials that I release. So absolutely. But we will be putting up polls. But thanks for reminding me that. I'll make sure I do that this week as well. Mark, does the library need to be located in LA or New York to be a successful library that will get you placements? Absolutely not. There are libraries all over the place. One of the main libraries that got me my career started, really built my career up, was based out of Detroit, Michigan. It's not really a hub of the music industry. Maybe at one point it was, but now it's not. So no, it doesn't matter. We're living in a digital age these days. People can network and talk to each other through the phone, online. They can get on the plane and network. So no, there's people with connections all over the country and all over the world. All right, guys, last couple here, and then I'll pop off. Will music supervisors license directly from independent producers if the music pitched is what they need? And could specific research be doable to get in their hands? I actually released a interview with a music supervisor in the syndicate was probably 2 months ago now, and he's done some really big one. They did Mary Poppins, they did the new Mortal Kombat trailer, I think they did Venom, lots of big partnered projects that they are working on, and he basically does not work directly with composers just because it's too much work. They need way more options than just what one composer or even a group of composers can provide to them. A lot of times supervisors will go directly to a library because the library has thousands of tracks that they can curate and find, and also has access to all these composers that they can hire. So my personal take on it, it's not necessarily worth going directly to music supervisors. I haven't had much luck trying to do that. Some producers maybe get 1 or 2 placements here and there. Libraries, though, have more clients, more opportunities, and supervisors are going to them anyway. So that's usually the way that I think you're going to find the most success. Mike has a good point. One thing to keep in mind with music supervisors, they tend to be focused on one project at one time. So if your music doesn't happen to align with that project, they'll put it aside. Yeah, so you're kind of limiting what your music could be used for. As opposed to a library, they'll have 20 different clients, and maybe these different clients have different needs at different times, right? And so your music has just more of a chance to jump off the shelf and get those placements. Doesn't mean they won't revisit it when they have a project they could use your music. Yeah, absolutely. So but does a PRO deduct taxes, or is it up to you? It's up to you. So they're going to basically just send your income out to you as if you are obviously a 1099 independent contractor, self-employed. You have to report that. You got to pay your taxes on it. They're not going to deduct it from you. So you're not an employee of the PROs. If you were an employee, they would deduct it from your paycheck, but you're an independent contractor. So, all right. Jack Spade, I have placements on reality shows and it's not big money. Should I just make a lot of tracks in the same reality show style, or make different types of tracks to get more profitable placements? It's hard to say because I've got tracks in reality shows that pay me a lot of money. So I don't know if it's, you have small, what is it called? Short length of placements. Maybe your placements are all background. You don't have any featured ones. Depends. I mean, if you're getting a lot of placements and this seems to be the path of the least resistance for you, maybe you try to look into how to get longer placements, right? If it's short, and there's so many things there I can't really tell you which way you should go, because you might be on a good path, but maybe you're just in the beginning stages of starting to get those royalties built up. Guyman, can or would he reveal the name of the library in Detroit that was instrumental with your start? Not right now. I'm still submitting music out that way, so I don't want to create my own competition. So I am not in the business of putting myself out of business. So I hope you guys understand that I don't give you guys all the contacts or any of the contacts of what I directly put my music into, because you guys understand that there are thousands of people that watch my videos and know what I'm doing. So what do you think is going to happen? I'm going to send dozens of people, at least, to crowd me out of my income source, right? Sorry, it's not a suicide pact that I'm doing here. No, I want to, obviously, I worked hard, I created my relationships, I served these companies very well. I don't want to take all that hard work and then just go ahead and flood it with all these other competing producers. So I'm helping you guys. I want you guys to get out there, and there are plenty of music libraries out there for you guys to get accepted to. I am not cornering the market in any way by doing this, but I am not in the business of putting myself out of business. So no, I won't be doing that. So, all right, guys, looks like we are good to go. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will, again, repost this in the membership area, so you guys will see this big video pop up here at the top, so you guys can rewatch this. If you were curious about the syndicate, wanted to see about maybe applying again this Monday, you'll get an email. There'll be a link here in the SyncEdge membership area, so you'll be able to do that. So thank you guys so much for watching. Get to work. Hope you guys get some great music done. I'm certainly going to be making some music. I got some ideas, some cool things I want to work on. So I'm excited. So I hope you guys are as well, and we'll see you guys next month. And we do have obviously 2 new libraries coming at the beginning of August. So I'm really stoked just because we're at the 1-year mark of SyncEdge, and I think I've crossed over 50 success stories. I have to double check that number, but I know we were at 42, 45 as of last month. So, and I know many of you guys got your first contract or maybe second or third contract that are even here in the live Q&A. So thank you guys for making SyncEdge a very successful. I love knowing that this stuff is not going to waste and people are just watching the videos and then just sitting on it. You guys are taking action. You're seeing really good results, positive results, and obviously understanding that it's going to be your hard work that's going to carry you through. So very excited about that. So we'll see you guys next month, and on August 1st, we'll have those 2 new music libraries for you.